So before we start, we can wait a couple more minutes. So we need a Java scribe and a minute taker. So any volunteers for that? In case it helps, today is probably gonna be a short meeting. So this is the best chance you can get to take the minutes. So next time we skip you, and if this time will be easy. So. Thank you, Russ. One volunteer for the minutes.
I'm going to start. We got somebody.
Terry Manderson, your affiliate area director, Suresh is not here. I really am going to iterate what Russ basically just said. This working group cannot start this meeting without a minute taker. Please consider volunteering quite quickly. Thank you. And your name?
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so thanks. Let's start the meeting. This is Ipwave. This is the usual IPR message, so be aware of that. You should. And the note well that you should also be aware of this as the IETF sessions. So, well, the usual administrative before we actually start into the session. The blue sheets, well, actually one. I think we don't need more than one. It should be circulating, so please send the blue sheets. Then we will have the note taker and Java scribe again. Thanks. So this is the agenda for today. As I anticipated before when trying to encourage people to take the minutes, this is short, this meeting. Basically, we have two presentations on the working group documents that we have. One on the main item for the working group, which is the document on the IPv6 over LCD. So there is a typo there. Actually, the first line, this should be removed anyway. So basically, it's an update of the status of the document. Alex, which is the main editor of the document, is not couldn't make it to Montreal, so we will be presenting the slides that he prepared. And then we'll try to discuss what the next steps to actually proceed with this document are, based on the comment that we got from the 6-month review. Then the second presentation is on the other working group document that we have and the use cases survey and problem statement. Paul will present the update from the last version. Actually, he submitted version 04, I think, during the week. So in the agenda we have 03, but he already sent a new version, so he will explain, I guess, the update from 03 to 02 and also the new changes in 04. And that's pretty much it for this week. So some words on the working with the status. So as you know, we have these two documents. The first one, the main one, the transmission of IPv6 packets over EO2.11 OCV. We have the version 25. Previous version of that document went through a 6-month review, as stated in our charter. We received some comments and things that needed to be addressed by the authors. From the author's point of view, they say that the document is ready. We have still some doubts that 6 months is happy with this. So we will present the changes that Alex made to the document, and we will see how to progress from there. One thing that we were trying to understand while looking into the issues that were raised by the 6-month review is trying to understand what implementation experience we have in the working group on DreamV6 over OCV. And this is again a call for anyone that has an implementation, either partial or kind of complete or flat. Please let us know, because that will be very helpful in trying to address also 6-month comments like, okay, we did that and it works, or we did that and doesn't work, and that's why we are doing things in this way or in another way. So please let the chair know if you have any implementation on IPv6 over OCV. And on the second document, we have some activity between London and Montreal, so that's something that we were missing in this document, to have some activity on the main list and from the authors in trying to make a reprint of the document. We will later discuss the changes that have been made, but I can anticipate you that we need some reviews for the document. In addition to the changes that have been made, we really need the working group to take a look and express their opinion, because these are working group documents, so it's not only the authors working on this. So we need reviews. So we will tackle that at the end, but please consider volunteering for this. Otherwise, the document will not move forward until we get some good reviews of it. So as you can see from the slide with our milestones, we are late on the ones that we have pending, so that's bad. Let's try to gain to make progress before 1 o'clock. So we will discuss how to move forward on the 2 main documents during the session. So next steps. On the main one, we really need to solve the issues with the 6 months. So we will see what Alex made, and we will then offline probably see how we can go to 6 months and see if they are happy with this, or they want to follow a different approach. Mainly, it's also a problem or an issue on the different expectations that we have on what this document should do and what 6 months thinks that this document should do. So maybe we need to align on that as well. And hopefully then submit the document to the IEC. So most of the software process was already completed in terms of getting the feedback from IPR and all these things. So it's mainly ensuring that 6 months is happy with it before submitting to the IEC. And as I mentioned, we need reviews on the other document, otherwise we will just block it. And at due time, once we have submitted the first document and have a very good idea of how the second document will look like, we may resume the recharting discussion that we have. And as I will also highlight when Paul presents the second document, it's really important for the problem statement document to really be the basis starting point for the recharting discussion. It doesn't make sense to have a recharting discussion that is not coupled with the problem statement documents that we have, because problem statement is actually for that, to show what needs to be done. Otherwise, I mean, we don't publish documents for the sake of publishing documents. So keep that in mind. And with that, we can just go to the first item of the agenda. The second, actually. Sorry, one thing that I forgot to do before is doing a bashing of the agenda, so I don't know if you have any actual addition or comment to that. Sorry for that, I forgot to do that. Okay, so I think that is fine. So let's go into this. So I'm gonna actually present. So if you don't mind, So this is Carlos Buenaros presenting on behalf of Alex and the rest of the people here. So I'm just presenting what he's prepared. So if you have any detailed question, I might not be able to address, but for sure he will be able to do it via email. So this is the content of the presentation. Basically, there are like 5 kind of issues or type of comments, things that require attention that the authors took care in the last version of the document. Well, we will go one by one looking at what was done. So you remember there was a discussion on whether the QS data headers needed to be used or not, or it needs to be a must, or how we should tackle that. So basically now it's a must. So the document says that the IP packets over OCV must be transmitted over OCV using the QS data frames. So that's the resolution that was taken after quite a long discussion. And well, there you have the current text that is on the document. So this one thing that was decided, and I think that's not much discussion on this point at this point. Then there was some clarifications into the Ethernet adaptation layer. So now the text that is on the draft basically says, trying to be more clear, more simple, that to simplify the application programming interface between the operating system and the AO2.11 OCV media, device drivers may implement an Ethernet adaptation layer that translates Ethernet to frames 2D.11 format and vice versa. And there's actually a description of this Ethernet adaptation layer in section 4.2.1 of the document. Sorry, any comments? Okay. Then there was some text changes on the neighbor discovery. So the new text, well, basically it clarified the point that the operation neighbor discovery over OCV is not specified in the document, but it's basically said that regular neighbor discovery is used in the document. There are there were some comments from the 6-month review on this particular point on whether neighbor discovery works or not. So this is one major point that we need to address. Basically, I think, as I mentioned before, there is also a different perception of what the goals of the document and the applicability of the document is. I guess that the 6 months maybe expected this to work in any potential condition of vehicular connectivity, and I think that the authors had in mind a more restricted environment and with more like simple situations like the whole thing or the whole possibilities. So that's something that we need to clarify.
Cisco. So why, I think the key point that 6-man raising is like, how does ND work? I think, this is an issue that I raised many months back last year. I said that in fact this document will not pass IASG unless we address that, but at that time, whatever reason we decide to move on, right? So again, why even draft this text? Why not get rid of this entire thing and state that, we agree that NDs, requires fundamental changes, but it will be addressed out of scope for this document. And why not touch any of these aspects? Why deal with this?
So the way I see that is what I tried to mention before, the kind of the scope of the document, the ambition of the document. So I think that I agree that personal opinion, neighbor discovery, in order to really work on this, needs to be worked. There are things that need to be done. And I think that for the sake of this document, which is probably aimed at targeting a more limited scenario where vehicles are not moving very fast, where the links are more stable, these kind of things. Regular camera-enabled discovery as it is just works. So I don't know what's the best way of wording that in the document, but I think that's what the authors want to say, and basically what you are saying as well, right? Like, let's not address new things on neighbor discovery for OCD on this document and keep it for another one. But still, we need to tackle in this document what is the scope.
Okay. I think a couple of points. I think the authors, at least particularly Tony, has been saying that ND just works, but it works is very subjective, right? If you bring in the vehicular environment, it's practically unusable. It absolutely doesn't make sense. I think, the way ND works cannot be applied in that environment, but, there's a major disagreement.
Yeah, I think that the point is exactly to define what is the environment where this document as is defined will apply. So you said that doesn't work. The authors say that in certain scenarios that they are testing, it works. So we really need to prove where it works and what are the assumptions, and then leave the actual extra work for another document.
I think, their approach of working is, in a lab environment, put two RSUs. That is a fixed environment. That is not a mobile environment. So, I think, but I know we cannot, conclude any here at this point. But I think my suggestion is like, even having this text, I truly think we should not deal with this. I think we should simply say that we haven't worked out the details of how ND works for this. Let's keep this out, out of scope for this document. Some other document will address that. I think that's my recommendation.
So, it seems to me there's three cases that come to play here. The first is when you think about the IEEE 1609 stuff, that's out of scope because it's not IPv6 traffic. It's all broadcast anyway, so there's no neighbor discovery. We could remind people of that. Second case has to do with when vehicles are moving in the same direction, at roughly the same speed, or they're parked at a light, or they're stopped in a parking lot or a garage, or they're moving slowly. Then the traditional IPv6 neighbor discovery techniques work in all of those cases. Nothing is new is needed. What doesn't seem to be resolved by the traditional is when a highway and has got a very narrow window where it's a roadside device is within radio range. One possible way the working group could move forward is to say that one case where the traditional doesn't work is for future study and be done.
But my response to that would be like, 2 is a subcase of 3. I wouldn't cut out and say that, 2 vehicles are maybe going at the same speed, maybe ND works for a partial period of time. That is not practical. If I'm using an application, I want the application to work consistently. I'm going from San Jose to San Francisco, I want that for entire environment, right? Not because, maybe my neighbor car is going only for 100 meters, maybe at that speed, it ND works, later after that, ND doesn't work. So 2 is a subcase of 3. We need to solve 3. 2 is a lab environment because it's a static environment. So I think.
Wait a minute. I think that what you just said contradicts what you said earlier. So since I think that, I probably misunderstood something you said. Your earlier proposal was to just delete the paragraph, right?
So say that again. Sorry, I couldn't hear that.
Your earlier suggestion was to just delete the paragraph and say nothing about it.
Yeah, exactly. Say that it's out of scope. You haven't worked out the details. Yeah.
But then you went on to say just now, but without some solution to the neighbor discovery, it isn't going to just work. So I'm trying to understand which your position is.
My recommendation is in this document, let's not talk about ending. I think that requires some more analysis, some more discussion. I think we need to do some work. I think that's my bottom line statement. So.
Okay, personal opinion again on this is that without some ND work on the document, it's hard that we will get this passed through, because this is about IPv6 over OCV. So how can you have a document of IPv6 over full without at least explaining how ND will work on this. So that's why my personal opinion is that we trying to scope better the ambition of this, like is IPv6 over OCB basic, whatever, and then for optimize IPv6 over more dynamic scenarios, we need something else. Because otherwise, for me, it would not make sense to have a document that says, I'm dealing with everything but ND. Okay, so moving on, or well, you have somebody wants to comment?
Yeah, just with respect
Your
to
name,
MD,
please.
my name is Samita Chakrabarti, and I'm also co-chair for 6th level. And I wonder if this group has at least taken a look at IFC 6775 that we use for 6th level communication, where it's more optimized. So maybe that's a suggestion, but I think as for IPv6, I think ND has to be there. If it doesn't work the way this group wants, I think it has to be modified.
I'm sorry, was that 6779?
Sorry?
What number was that?
6775. 5, yes.
Okay, thank you for comment, I agree.
Hi, Ron Infeld, just an observation. Both the old text and the new text contrast 802.11 OCB to 802.11 links, and the latter is very ambiguous. What is probably meant here is infrastructure mode, ESS, 802.11. But there's also such a thing as 802.11 IBSS.
No,
The
this
in-
is OCB mode.
No, the OCB contrasted to 802.11 what?
OCB is about DSRC. 802.11p.
It says 802.11 OCB links is different than over 802.11 links.
Oh, I see.
What 802.11 links?
I see, that part. Thank you. I misunderstood your first
Yeah.
comment.
So it could be ESS, it could be IBSS, it could be mesh mode. It has to be more specific.
Okay, we will pass that comment to the authors. Okay, so there were also some changes on the Slack. So basically, they updated that. So the new text says that the interface identifier for OCB interface is formed using the same rules as the interface identifier for an Ethernet interface. So the recommended method for forming stable interface identifiers is described in 8064. It also says that the method of forming IEDs described in section 4 of 2464 may be used during transition time. So basically, it's trying to adapt to the current mechanisms for IPv6 Slack. I think that's the purpose, to clarify the text that was there. Any comments on this? And then some minor needs that need to be solved, but this is really minor things. So this is basically all that the authors submitted. So again, well, we have to address the comment from Ronan, but anyway, we need to go with this. And I guess we will need to talk to the people that provide comments in 6 months and to see try to agree with them in a potential resolution for this, because this this ND thing clearly is a showstopper for the document to progress. So we really need to see whether they want the whole ND thing to be tackled in this document, where that will delay it because it's a lot of things to be addressed, or whether they will be happy with a resolution saying, okay, with this a clear explanation of the scope of this document, where it applies, an identification on what does not work in which situations, that's left for future work, and let's go with that. That will be my preference, my preferred approach, as Ross mentioned, but we need to talk to 6 months to see whether they are happy with that.
I'd like to repeat the call that I made on the mail list. If anyone has a implementation that is based on this internet draft and you have any experience related to the neighbor discovery part from testing that implementation, please share it with us, either on the mail list or at the mic now.
Okay, so we can now move to the second presentation. Paul? Anyone that needs to sign?
Hello, this is John Paul Jung from Sungkyuan University in Korea. I'm editor for the second our working group document, problem statement and use cases. So we have a lot of co-authors. So the update from last second version and third versions. So yesterday I submitted version the first. The major updates are, the first one is the reorganization of a table of contents. So we try to focus on the problem statement and also the use cases. So last London meeting, our AD, Suresh Krishnan and working group chairs asked we needed to reorganize. Especially, we try to make our problem statement document readable. So in the past, the previous version has more than the 50 pages. Now you can see 20 pages. Just we focus on the key, the work item for Ipwave problem statement. The first one is the neighbor discovery. So just previous the presentation and the three mentioned, the neighbor discovery is not a simple trivial one, so we needed to dig out. The second one is mobility and management for consider the signaling, such as the handover issues, and also some related to a neighbor discovery. The third one is security and privacy. So this slide shows a table of content. So you can see the first part describes the use cases, the V2V, V2I, V2X. And then we analyze kind of the protocols such as IP version 6 over 8.11 OCD, blah, 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 you can see. And then I specified general problems such as what is our playground. So I describe the virtual network architecture and also address the latency and security pseudonym handling. Based on this analysis, I specify the problem explanation, which means the problem statement. So the first key item is neighbor discovery, such as link model, MAC address pseudonym handling, and prefix dissemination and exchange, and also routing. The secondly, mobility management also we need to consider, and third one is the security and the privacy. So other relevant work items are moved to Appendix A, such as vehicle identity management having multiple interfaces. Second one is multi-hub V2X and the multicast and DNS naming and the service discovery. And also in the random meeting, some folks mentioned the IPv version 6 over cellular networks are also important because nowadays many automotive vendors they having interest in cellular based V2X. That's why we summarized and analyzed
So this is the use cases, the V2V and the V2I and the V2X. So this document briefly surveyed. In the previous version 2 case, we have some intensive survey. But now I shorten the text. And the current protocol, especially related to IP-based vehicular networking, I enumerated. And also specify the general problems. So at this moment, I just remind the network architecture for our playground. So you can see we have the beakers here. So beaker can talk to each other using the V2V. And also beaker can talk to RSU V2I in order to access cloud server or some corresponding node in the internet. And also we have a traffic control center. This is for mobility management, such as a beaker environment case. Usually we can assume the navigator can tell its location, speed, direction, and the trajectory to traffic control center for efficient mobility management. And also, we think the beaker itself, you can see this is the left-hand side, right-hand side, the internal network. So beaker or RSU can have its own the subnet, okay? Because nowadays the ECU in beaker can connect it using the Ethernet, okay? So in that case, the host, some host can talk to some server in RSU. So in that case, the question is how to talk to each other. But secondly, a beaker case also moving fast. So especially the cruise control, adaptive cruise control case, also host 2, host 4, we can say they are providing that kinds of safety applications. In that case, how to talk to each other. So the problem is pollination. So we focus on 3 key work items. Maybe we can have more, but yeah, yesterday I talked to Carlos and Los, and we can say at the moment the 3 items are important. Maybe our working group speak up some other important work item, but right now we focus on 3s. And other relevant work item also I summarized in Appendix A. So you can read it. Also the slide in Appendix section I summarized. So neighbor discovery needs to be tailored for vehicular networking, V2V, V2I, V2X. So Ross mentioned we have 3 scenarios, but in highway scenario case, dynamically changing topology, multi-hop forwarding, and high-speed vehicles, that makes our story very meshy, not simple. Also, ND parameter adjustment also required because the vehicle moving fast. In the case, RSU, maybe 1 second, it is out of communication range. So larger lifetime, also neighbor advertisement interval should be adjusted. Speed, based on speed, vehicle density. So link model is very important. You can see the IP version 6 legacy link model case, as long as the nodes have the same prefix, always they can talk to each other. But wave, wireless access in vehicular environment case, the assumption is not correct, especially the symmetry link connectivity case, it does not works because of unidirectional link, because of interference and the different TX power levels. Okay. Eric, yeah.
So, Eric, not Mark. So I think you're not comparing to the IPv6 link model. I think you're comparing to IPv6 over Ethernet.
Okay.
And the link model that Neighbor Discovery assumes handles all of this stuff. It doesn't make any assumptions about any prefixes whatsoever, apart from the link local prefix. Right? You're not required to have an on-link prefix other than the link local. So you're comparing to an Ethernet.
Okay.
And what we did with 6LoWPAN, as well as detecting network attachment a long time ago, is actually figuring out these things. So they might not be written up that well in RFC 4862, but we moved way past this thing. So I don't think you need anything special for Wave.
So, okay, so probably, yeah, you clarified, okay. This link model is based on the Ethernet, right? You are saying, right? Okay.
So the performance characteristics, the sort of 1 second thing or whatever, yeah, that's something interesting to go after. But not, I don't think it's the model. The model is not the problem.
Okay. Okay, and the third one is on reachability between two nodes with the same prefix because of the beacons moving past. Okay, they making connected vehicle add-on network, VANET, load segments. So imagine two segments are separated out of communication range, right? Even though two groups are having the same prefix, but the connected the VANET load segment, the vehicle cannot talk to each other. So maybe this is not that doesn't work for the IP version 6, the original. Eric mentioned that Ethernet-based link model doesn't work. And also, IP version 6 and Neighbor Discovery should be extended support wave link in terms of the multicast in VANET. Also, the MAC address pseudonym for privacy, periodically MAC address is changed, which means IP address usually based on the MAC address interfaces, right? So in that case, the end-to-end transport layer session may be affected. So we need to support the continuity for end-to-end transport layer session. We need to consider it. The last one is the prefix dissemination and the exchange. So the communication of two nodes within different internal node. Previously, I showed the vehicle or RSU having internal network, right? So in that case, how to exchange prefix, right, quickly. Second topic is mobility management. So efficient mobility management super important for seamless connectivity and timely data exchange between two endpoints. Remember, vehicle network case, vehicle can have a GPS navigator, such as a dedicated navigator or a smartphone app, right, can be used for the proactive mobility management. So the vehicle mobility information we can assume periodically reported to traffic control center. Maybe we can say this is the mobility anchor. So let's London meeting, the three presented nicely. He showed the network architecture having the mobility anchor point. So we can say that with prediction of vehicle mobility, traffic control center or a mobility anchor point that support RSU to perform DAD data packet forwarding and the handover in proactive manner. Okay. Next topic, security and privacy. So first of all, we needed to authorize the nodes for secure communication. And then, in order to do that, we needed to authenticate the vehicle and the user, right? So we can using the VIN ID, vehicle identifier number, or user certificate with in-vehicle devices ID generation. So we can authenticate. So with this authentication can be efficiently and quickly done by the RSU, assuming it has the vehicle or user certificate information connected to authentication server. And also, we need to support the secure B2B, B2X communication. Okay, so secure B2I or secure B2B. So one simple solution is we can support using the TLS certificates. The lastly, privacy case, the MAC address pseudonym, we already discussed. The next step is, I want to have at least 2 or 3 reviewer for this document. And then we collect feedback, and also our working group attendees in this room, please suggest your feedback to the authors. And then we will reflect your comments on the revisions. The final goal is that we want to submit IESG before Bangkok meeting, okay, November. And then we start the chapter for next step. Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments? So next slide, you can see the appendix. Okay, so this is for your information. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, Paul. So as we discussed in the introductory slides, so we need reviews, and as you just mentioned, we need reviews for the document. So we are looking for 2-3 reviewers that could provide an in-depth review of this. So is Sri, are you an author of this one or not? Because if you are not, I would like to ask you if you could review this document. Okay, Michelle is saying Michelle Vettermal on the Java that she will do another one. So thank you, Michelle. So we have 2. I will be good if Ronald, are you willing to do one? And Dirk, okay. So we have Ronald and Dirk. So we have 4 reviews already. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Okay. And I was also discussing with Eric about the other document, IPv6 or OCV, so he also kindly agreed to review that document, version 25. So with that, we are basically done for today. As we said, this was expected to be short. So thank you very much about that. Okay. You want to say something, Sri? Okay.
So what's the plan for the recharter? So when do you recharter? When do you plan to recharter?
So as was said at the front, we want the problem statement to guide the recharter. So the problem statement, that's why we want the reviews, so that guides the discussion. The explained problems then guide which topics the working group should work on next.
Okay.
Make sense?
Thanks.
Yep.
So thank you very much. We basically were done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, wouldn't you just oh, okay. That works. Okay. It's only been like 10 years.